Hi everyone. Well, welcome to our first interview from our YouTube series of interviewing other travelers around the world and people making a sustainable impact on their journey. So for our first interview, we have CJ, founder of Go Travel and Talk, amazing person. CJ's life was transformed after a 6-month trip around South America, which motivated her to break free from the typical 9 to 5 working life and start Go Travel and Talk.
And Go Travel and Talk is an online platform dedicated to inspiring travellers and solo travellers to explore, share and impact. And to achieve this, they provide really detailed travel guides to worldwide destinations and also information on how to find positive impact opportunities when you're travelling. There's also a really nice community blog area where people can contribute and guest post to share their own knowledge and educate other travellers on important global issues and just really cool spots that they found whilst travelling. So yeah, let's get started and show you the interview.
Here we go.
So can you just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and behind Go Travel and Talk?
Yeah, so I mean, the main reason really I started Go Travel and Talk, if I could put it into one word, would be frustration. Mainly because I couldn't find all the information I wanted to online when I wanted to travel to South America. There are loads of amazing travel blogs out there, like you guys. But what I really struggled to find information on was volunteering. I could find organizations and I could find, big corporations, but it would cost me thousands of pounds and I'd have to spend a month or two there. And I just didn't have the budget and I didn't have the time. So when I arrived in Colombia, I literally door knocked. I spoke to the locals. I got involved in the community. And what I found when I was in South America is that there are so many grassroots organizations that need help and need volunteers, but they don't have a website. They don't have that exposure. And like one case in Ecuador, for example, I was on a bus to this tiny little place called Vilcabamba. Have you guys heard of it?
No, I haven't actually.
Okay.
You should look it up.
It's crazy. It's this tiny town in the middle of Ecuador, in southern Ecuador, and it's known as the Valley of Longevity because everyone there lives to like 100+ years. It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. But there's been a massive infiltration of American expats that want to live forever, basically. So it's quite a cool experience.
Don't we all?
Yeah. But I met this amazing woman on the bus called Maggie, and she told me about this after school club, and they really struggled for volunteers because no one knows of this place. And then for the next week, I spent time at this after school club and I learned so much about the history, the culture, the struggles that they face, all the things that they've overcome. And it's things like that I know people want to get involved in, but there's not the resources out there. So that's why in all of our travel guides, we include the volunteer section when we can research it and do it ourselves. So people have that opportunity to get involved. There's also a big part of the solo travel side. Like I have traveled solo now for the last 5 years and I love it. It's amazing. It's empowering. And I will always say that traveling is the best education you can give yourself. Like you learn so much on the road, so much more than you ever would in school. But a lot of the times, and especially when people are starting out their journey of solo travel, fear often trumps adventure and people don't go and they miss out on this amazing experience. And that's what happened to me. When I was 18, I didn't have anyone to go with. So then I didn't travel until I was 25 and it was the best thing I've ever done. I mean, it's been life-changing for me. So it's about empowering people to get on the road, but to travel with a difference and to make that positive impact when they travel.
That's really amazing.
That's amazing.
Very inspiring. Yeah.
Thank you.
And do you know what? I actually read your the email, like the newsletter that you sent out the other day, and it told a lot about kind of how you went to Southeast Asia and you had a very like typical young experience. You were out a lot and you kind of didn't make so many memories, as it were, because you were out partying. And then the second time you went was a completely different experience. And I was reading that whole email thinking, God, I can completely relate to all of this. And the feeling of coming back and thinking, I don't want to be in London anymore. I don't want to be working in an office. And it was really amazing to read that and relate so much to it, and thinking there must be so many people out there who think the same and who relate as well. And I think it's a really great platform to help people overcome that thought of there must be more to this. What else can I do? And to give them that power to do it. So I think it's amazing.
Thank you. I sent out that email because I felt like actually people don't actually know me and my journey. They know maybe the brand, but they don't know me. And I've had so many people contact me saying, "Oh my God, the house sitting, how do I do it? Like, how do I get out of this kind of grind that I'm in?" And I think people are starting to wake up, which is really, really exciting, because in my 20s, that's what I was doing, everything I thought I was meant to be doing, the 9 to 5, the earning the money, getting your own place. And there was just a point where it was like, this isn't what I want. This isn't enough for me. And I know there are so many more people out there that feel the same.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so your 3 keywords for Go Travel and Talk are explore, share, and impact. Why did you choose those 3 keywords?
Yeah, so I mean, when you're thinking about like your tagline for your website or your brand, it's really hard to kind of put everything that you're passionate about and everything that you want to explain into words, essentially. But those 3 came quite naturally, because for me, exploring, it's not just about getting out there and exploring and seeing what the world has to offer. It's about exploring your internal world as well. What is it that you want? What do you want from your travels? What do you want from life? And by getting out on the road and taking yourself out of your 9 to 5, you give yourself that space, that time to reflect and really think deep down, like, is this what I want? And that's what happened to me. And I know that happens to a lot of people. The sharing side is about all of this knowledge that we learn on the road is to share it with other people. So it kind of continues a domino effect of education. So people learn even if they haven't been there themselves. But it's also about sharing your experiences with the locals and letting them share their experiences with you, so you learn that way. And I've learned so much more by traveling in that way, in terms of sharing those experiences, sharing stories and memories and all that sort of thing. And then the impact side is all about, making that positive impact, not only for yourself, but for other people. We know that there are negative impacts of traveling. We talk about it, but a lot of people aren't doing something about it. So for me, it's about trying to offset carbon emissions, volunteering, sharing that knowledge and creating an impact that way, traveling sustainably and doing that sort of stuff. But also creating, again, that impact internally, like letting it impact you in the way that you need it to. Because I genuinely believe that I would argue with anyone that says that travel doesn't change them. It does. Even if it's a small thing or a big thing, it does change you. And that's what I want people to experience.
That's really cool, and I think it's really important to highlight the internal and the external impact, because that's something that a lot of people maybe don't really think about when they think about impact. Like you say, the most common thing to spring to mind is all the environmental side of things. So it's really important to think about the internal impact too.
I wanted to ask, do you have any 1 to 3 tips that you would give to anyone that wants to maximize their internal impact of the experience?
Gosh, it's so hard. I would say it primarily comes down to giving yourself space. Like, you can't work through stuff, whether that's a previous trauma or whether that's just you don't know where you want to be in life. You can't work through that if you are in the day-to-day 9 to 5 grind, or however many days you work. So travel gives you that space, and if that's a week away or if that's 6 months away, it doesn't matter, but it gives you that space. I think for me, journaling has been so powerful. I always thought, no, it's not me. I don't have the time to sit there and write pages. And actually now I journal more in pictorial fashion, because I was writing essays and essays and essays, and I was getting stressed that I wasn't doing my journal entries a day. So now I do pictures or mind maps and bullet points and do it that way. So find a way that works for you, so you can write down your thoughts, your feelings and everything like that. I think they're probably the two big things. And spend time reflecting. There is always time to reflect, and meditation is a really good form of doing that, by just giving yourself that quiet time and thinking about not just kind of what you've done that day, but what you want from the future. And it's something that I'm getting into a lot now in terms of manifestation, all that sort of stuff, and I think it can be really powerful.
Definitely, yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah. I like the idea of journaling kind of in a more compact form, because I kind of feel the same way. Like, I would like to write more of my ideas down, or not ideas, more of my thoughts. And we have kind of Instagram, which is kind of our daily journal in a way, but there are still things that I feel like I want to write, but I don't want to sit there and writing out in full. So I might try this kind of bullet pointing in my map idea. I like it.
Yeah, it does work, and actually it's so much less stressful because like I said, I was finding that I was getting so stressed out that I hadn't written down all my thoughts and feelings that day, and then I couldn't remember them, and oh my god, I missed a journal entry, and then it got like 3 months down the line I hadn't journaled. So yeah, do what works for you. There is no one right method for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Yeah, really good advice.
Yeah.
I found really hard to keep my journal, especially during all these 3 years.
Nice.
Yeah, it gets really sad when you go back and I haven't written for I don't know, for 3 months. I like, I want to get back to that.
Yeah, try some new ideas this time.
So, what one piece of advice would you give to someone who's thinking about going on a solo trip? That's our next question.
Yeah, this one's a really hard one. When I saw this question, this is the one that I freaked out about the most because I was like, I don't have one piece of advice. I could say so much, but I guess the main thing really, and this is really speaking from my personal experience, is to fight through the fear. That, like, in terms of human emotions, fear is one of the most powerful emotions, and it stops us from doing so much. And then if you add in people around you saying, oh, that's really dangerous to go off on your own, or, you know, my favorite was being in a taxi one night with this taxi driver, and he was taking me home, and we were talking about what I was getting up to, and I said, oh, I'm going to South America next week. I'm going to Colombia. And he said, oh, you're going to get kidnapped by the cartel. It's really dangerous. And not only did that shock me, but then when I said to him, have you been to Colombia? He said no. And I was like, well, you can't possibly say things like that. And this is the thing, right? People are scared of the unknown. What they don't understand, they fear. And people impart that on you, and it makes you even more go, okay, maybe they're right. So it's really to push through that fear, forget what everyone else is saying, reach out to Facebook groups, to the travel community. You know, we have so much knowledge between us, and, you know, you guys have done it, I've done it. We've all been in that place where you're like, is this the right thing to do? So to reach out and kind of build that community around us. And that's what I'm hoping the GTT community will eventually get to, where we can support each other and we can have a live forum and we can, you know, be that support network. But also when you're on the road and you've pushed through that initial fear barrier, to keep pushing. So don't just do stuff on the tourist trail. Don't just do what everyone else is doing. If you've done your research, which you should do, go for the things that you're really interested in. So in Peru, I was in a little town called Paracas. There's nothing to do there really, apart from go on a couple of boat tours to what they call the poor man's Galapagos, which I wasn't interested in. But someone I'd met earlier in my trip said, rent a bicycle and go and cycle around the desert. Now, I haven't ridden a bike in like 5 years, so that terrified me in itself. The balance isn't great.
I'm the same.
Yeah, but I did it, and it was probably one of my favorite days on that South American adventure. It was just me and my bicycle and my backpack, and yeah, there was like lagunas and deserts and flamingos, and of course I met some amazing people around when I was cycling around. But if I hadn't pushed through that, if I had stayed in the hostel and if I'd done all the tourist stuff that everyone else was doing, I wouldn't have had that experience. So yeah, just keep pushing through the fear, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I can even say, like, during our travels, you know, we travel very slow, and it's very easy, even when you're on the road, to sometimes get into a comfort zone when we're somewhere for a long time. Like, here we've been for 2.5 months now.
Gosh,
and
that's
you're
I can't believe that.
I know, it's gone so fast. And yeah, we're doing volunteering, so of course we're going to be here the majority of the time. But you almost get back into the 9 to 5 in a stranger, and you have to snap out of it and say, okay, you know, this is what we're going to do today. It's something different. We have to push and go and take the bus and go somewhere else. And you have to remind yourself of it all the time, not just the first time you go traveling. So it's a good piece of advice for anyone. Yeah.
And what's really interesting, actually, I've been reading this book at the moment, and they were basically saying when we're in our 9 to 5 and we have routine, basically our minds go to sleep, our bodies take over. It's all automatic, you know, from brushing your teeth to doing the commute to working. We're not consciously thinking, oh, I'm brushing my teeth, or oh, I'm going to work. But with travel, and even if you're in a new place like now, things are new all the time. So your mind is consciously awake. And that's what I want people to experience, to have those wow moments every single day.
Yeah.
I remember before starting to travel, someone told me, in your daily life, you already know where to find, I don't know, your money, your place to eat, your comfort from a friend or whatever. And when you're traveling, you don't know anything about that. You're in a new place and you have to find all that by yourself. So your senses go from being like 50% active to 200, and that's how it felt for me traveling by myself. And yes, I agree with Linda that now traveling slower, sometimes it's easier to go back to that feeling of being a little bit more asleep. And yeah, it's very important to listen people like you and say we need to break with that.
Yeah.
Even while traveling.
Yeah.
It's true because you can get so comfortable, especially if you meet an amazing group of people or you're volunteering and stuff like that. So I guess really with things like that, it's just making sure that we stay present and we're still appreciating everything that's around us.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So this is a very common question that everyone gets asked a lot, but I think it's very important. Which is your place, your favorite place that you have visited so far, and why?
Oh, I have favorite places for different reasons. I think one of my favorite places so far has been Medellin in Colombia, and that's because I stayed there for so long. So at that point in my trip, I had decided to slow down, and I think I spent nearly a month there, and I was volunteering at this gorgeous little charity out in the barrios of Medellin, and I became almost integrated into the community. You know, people knew my name, I knew their names. It was nice, and people, you know, I'd go out for dinner with the locals, they would choose the place, and I would find all these incredible places that I would never have known otherwise. So I think that was one of my favorite things about Medellin. More recently, and I think you guys picked up on this, it's got to be Albania. Like that place blew my mind.
Wow, really?
So visually stunning, and because tourism hasn't really impacted it in a huge way, it's so raw and so authentic, and all the Albanians are really curious about your story and where you come from. And yeah, we stayed at local guest houses, so there was no hostels or anything like that, and it was just a completely different experience. Yeah, being so close to nature and getting to know the locals quite well.
Wow,
amazing. That
sounds amazing.
Yeah, I've seen Albania pop up maybe in the last year, not very often, but occasionally, and it keeps coming back to me now. And for hiking in the mountains, I'm like, oh, it sounds like a cool place to go.
Yeah. It is cool. And like, I think also because you don't, because tourism hasn't impacted it in such a huge way, you don't meet a lot of travellers. Like a lot of it is locals that you meet, which is really nice. It gives that kind of different perspective on it.
Yeah. And you were doing a lot of hiking there, right? When you were there?
Well, it was kind of a lot of hiking. So it's one major day basically where you do 17 kilometers. But it was gorgeous. And then the next day we did a kind of 3-hour mini hike to this place called the Blue Eye, which is just insane. It's just waterfall and pool of bright blue water in the middle of the mountains.
Wow.
So, it's incredible.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I was there for a moment.
In Ireland.
I felt really nice.
Good. So you did.
Oh, dear. So going back a little bit to Go Travel and Talk, maybe you can tell us a little bit about some of those partnerships and if there are any future projects that you're really excited about that you'd be able to share with any listeners right now.
Yeah. So in terms of kind of who we partner with, every partnership is different. But the one thing that's really important to me is that they're bringing value to our community. So a lot of the times they're smaller organizations that people don't necessarily know about, but actually they're doing some really cool things. So for example, Hotels That Help. For people that do use websites like Booking.com and Skyscanner, Hotels That Help act as like an intermediary between them. So if you clicked on the Hotels That Help website and then clicked on their Booking.com link, a certain percent of that price goes back to getting people off the streets for one night in the UK. So, and that's at no extra cost to you. So when you make that booking, money goes back to fighting homelessness in the UK, which is a cause really close to my heart. I volunteer a lot with Crisis at Christmas and stuff like that. So I work very closely with Tom in terms of kind of getting people to him, and he does the same with GTT, and we have a partnership in terms of that way, which is really nice. Another partnership that we have is with Gem Travels, and they're going to be popping up a lot more actually over the coming months because they create really cool, slow and sustainable travel itineraries for Bali, Sri Lanka, and Goa. And it's to get people to slow down, but also off the tourist trail and to see some really cool things and volunteer and do some other stuff out there rather than follow the tourist trail. And I'm going to Bali next month, so I'm going to be working with Joan Jack on an itinerary for that.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Showing people what it's all about, which is really cool. Yeah,
that's
they're
awesome.
Amazing. Really amazing. And they were started up by Gabrielle, who is from Holland, and she's just got such a passion, enthusiasm for life. It's really nice to see. And they're really flying the sustainable flag, which is amazing. Yeah.
That's really good.
And then, other organizations that we work with is like Mission Surf Mexico. They're a really little a kind of surfing community, I suppose, that gives surf lessons and English lessons to the kids out there. And at the moment, we're working with an organization out in India, and we're going to be working with them on kind of personalized volunteering itineraries, which is a future project that's in the pipeline at the moment, which is really exciting. So
wow, all those projects are amazing.
Yeah, it's grown really quickly because you really started Go Travel and Talk in October roughly last year. Is that right? So almost a year ago.
I got back from South America when did I get back? July, and I was in my job for 2 days, as you know, and then I left. And I begged mum and dad to let me back home. So I moved back with them, and then I kind of had a rough idea in my head what I wanted to achieve with it, and I started putting together the initial travel guides of the places that I'd just been, and then we launched in October. But I kind of say really it's kind of January time, because I actually figured out what I was doing.
It takes a while, right?
Even though I don't know now, I have no idea most days. So we are growing, and it's really exciting. And what's really exciting is that there are loads of people actually out there that want to travel differently, that are done with falling out of bars at 3 a.m. with their Thailand bucket, like I used to do. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, that's great. Wow, congratulations on those successes already. It's fantastic to hear about.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I love you guys. You guys are so awesome. And it's so nice that we can connect over video as well as over Instagram and email and stuff like that. It's been such a pleasure.
Absolutely. That's definitely kind of our purpose with this, really. We talk so much about making authentic connections when we travel, like with the local community and things like that. And we tell each other that through social media. But I was feeling like we were lacking a little bit in that real connection with our community as well. So it's a really nice way to put faces to names and start kind of talking with people. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ada.
Have a great day, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
So we really hope that you enjoyed the interview with CJ from Go Travel and Talk. Go and follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Go Travel and Talk, and of course check out their website for those really awesome blog posts and travel guides. Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any future episodes, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you.